Okay, I just returned from a children and youth leaders retreat at Cathedral Ridge this weekend, and one thing that was stated by the Office of the Bishop's staff was that it's better if a child's faith isn't formed by just one congregation. When a child is exposed to multiple retreats and events run by multiple trusted adults, then they get a chance to explore and question their faith more fully, be exposed to more worship experiences, get more formation opportunities, and ultimately they will come to a faith then that is their own. Then when they move away or go to college, they're more able to embrace another Episcopal church that wasn't the one they grew up in. The diocese provides family camps and youth camps for elementary-aged children. Middle schoolers get the camps, plus quest retreats are added in, and high schoolers get the camps and the quest retreats, and also YES, which is Young Episcopalians in Service mission trips. So we want to thank you for your financial and prayer support for these 6 kids, and for leaning into the congregation's promise at every baptism, will you who witness these vows do all in your power to support these persons in their life in Christ? To which you responded, we will. We will. All right. We'll start with the elementary, and then we'll move on to the middle school and then the high school.
Hi, my name is Ileana. Thank you so much for supporting me with going to Cathedral Edge. My favorite part of Cathedral Edge was the leap of faith. We would climb up a pole and then jump off and trust God. There was a fire in the kitchen, so we got fast food. We thank God that camp and the kitchen staff were safe. We hope that more people go to camp and always stay faithful to God and safe. We learned how to make fake snow with salt and water. We also learned how to inflate balloons with baking soda and vinegar. Our theme of this year was on earth as in heaven, so we learned a lot about the prayer in Christian Ed. We also made examples such as helping with the Texas floods as in heaven. I also loved how the boys' cabin and the girls' cabin banded together to have a funny boys versus girls contest that was not in the schedule. Again, thank you.
Get you really close, step a little closer.
Thank you everybody who has helped me go to camp. I had so many adventures. This was my first time going, and I can't wait to go next year. One thing I loved doing was the zip line. It was so fun. The first thing I had to do was put on my harness and my helmet and climb up a rope ladder to a platform. When I got up there, I waited my turn, then connected my harness to the zip line. Then I jumped off the platform and sped down the zip line. But it felt like as soon as the ride started, it stopped. The brakes slowed me down, and I had to climb down. My next adventure was kayaking. It was the first time I ever tried it. At first, I was in a 2-person boat, but that didn't work very well because we weren't very coordinated. Next, I tried it by myself, and I could go really fast, and we had a water war in the lake. Luckily, nobody fell off or got leeches. Yes, there are leeches there. I had a wonderful time, and I appreciate the generosity of my church family that made it possible.
Hello, my name is McCrae Bradfield. Thank you all for donating money for us to go to Cathedral Ridge Church Camp. I really enjoyed camp for 3 reasons. One was it was way easier to make friends than anywhere else, as everyone was so accepting and kind. For example, playing goggle ball, there were girls and boys playing together, and if someone was out, there were no arguments and they were out. Goggle ball is like dodgeball, but more fun. I'm not going to go into details about how to play goggle ball. That might take all day. Another cool thing there was that there was a bear on campus. Before dinner, during free time, the bear came to Stage Hall and it looked more curious than dangerous. Lastly, I liked evening chapel. Reading all those Bible stories made me feel closer to God. I can't wait to go back to camp next year.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Kobe Gregory. I attended the middle school youth camp. Thank you for buying stock to support our Cathedral Ridge youth camp experience. I wanted to share 3 activities that I enjoyed the most there. First, throughout the week, we talked about parts of the Lord's Prayer. The part that stood out the most for me was about forgiveness. Forgive others as we forgive those who trespass against us. Sometimes I get upset with what people do or say to me. I know I must offer forgiveness instead of holding a grudge. Second, one night while at the campfire, you wrote a name of a person who you hadn't forgiven on a piece of paper. Then we threw the papers into a fire as an act of forgiveness, sending it up to God. The name, the paper, and the forgiveness all went up to God. This is all about teamwork. After dinner, we all gathered at the field and we would play some team games. One of the games was Gold Rush. We would try to capture gold from the other teams while protecting our own. Another activity was Mission Impossible. In the forest of 160 acres, teams had to sneak across the forest without being seen by the camp counselors. My team came in first. Thank you for your generosity, which gave me the opportunity to spend the week at Cathedral Ridge. You've sent me to Cathedral Ridge 3 times now. It will always be part of my life.
First off, I want to thank all who contributed to our trip to Cathedral Ridge. I also want to thank my parents for making the long drive every time that we go there. It's about 3 hours there and 3 hours back, so about a 6-hour round trip. Takes all day. And plus 3 kids, so 3 weeks in a row. It's a lot. For all those of you who are wondering about camp, they also double as a retreat center. So if you ever want to go somewhere and get away from everything, it's a fun place to go. The camp is awesome, and they all have all sorts of activities like archery and even a ropes course with a giant swing and a zip line. The staff is really nice, and they will listen and assist you when you need any assistance. They had Bible studies and Christian Ed. In Christian Ed, we did a ton of school experience that taught us about God, like a tic-tac-toe tournament. The tournament taught us about God by showing us that even though we might be in different groups, we will all eventually come together. As was shown when the last 2 did a tic-tac-toe, not tic-tac-toe, rock, paper, scissors. I don't know what I'm thinking. When the last 2 went together and all of the followers eventually became following one person. A bit change in subject, my favorite part was archery. I liked archery because on my first try, even with 2 broken wrists, I got a bullseye. Smack in the middle of the bullseye. It was so much fun. When we were not shooting at archery, there was a little gazebo nearby that we would go up and talk to our friends about stuff with. In morning chapel, we found a spot that was away from everybody else, and we'd think about questions that the priest gave us, and then we would come together and you could share if you wanted. And again, thank you for sending me to camp.
Do you want to pull that off? Yes. Okay, let's do it. So lift it up.
Have you ever not wanted to do something because you were nervous? Well, that's how I felt about camp. I was nervous about camp because, I was nervous, but I'm very happy that my mother sent me to camp. The camp was very fun. I met a lot of new people. There were people that said hi to me that I never had met before. They were very nice. When I was at camp, we went fishing and whitewater rafting, and we went on a high ropes course. When we went whitewater rafting, it was raining and cold, but it was still fun. We got stuck on a rock and got splashed a lot after the rafting. We were very cold. The chaplain, Mother Megan, was very nice. She was fun to talk to and made sure everyone was included. The youth director, Nicole, was very nice. She made me feel like I was loved there. When I first met her, she kind of reminded me of my mother, and it made me feel less anxious. I met one of my best friends, Lauren. I love hanging out with her. The camp director, John, was very fun. We nicknamed him John Bon. We rode with him rafting, and it was very fun. We taught John how to clock it, and it was very fun because every day we asked him to clock it. And clocking it is basically just going like this, and it means to it means like a good thing. It's like, yes, period, slay, like good. My favorite camp director was Caroline and AJ. Thank you for listening to me. I would also like to thank the congregation for helping me go to camp.
Remind those of you who haven't yet read thoroughly or remembered carefully the bulletin announcement. After the service this morning, instead of gathering for coffee hour in the back, you're invited to go to coffee hour in the parish hall, where the children will be presenting a special coffee hour with goodies that they bring, as well as a slideshow. So please stick around after the service for that. I do want to say a word, well, maybe a few words, about this morning's readings, especially a single verse from this morning's gospel, where Jesus says, "Whoever comes to me and does not hate father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, and even life itself, cannot be my disciple." I think we need to be clear that Jesus cannot literally mean that we cannot serve him unless we harbor hatred toward other people. This is the same Jesus, after all, who affirms the primacy of love, both love of God and of neighbor. You remember elsewhere, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself." And this is the same Jesus who insists that we should love everybody, including our enemies and those who hate us. And I think we need to be clear that Jesus cannot mean that we should literally hate life itself, for this life is a gift. It should be cherished as the treasure it is. But, and it's a big but Jesus clearly wants us to know that there is a cost to our discipleship, a real cost. Our family, our ethnicity, our gender, our social status, our political affiliations, any of these things may describe us, but they dare not define us. Love of family isn't wrong unless it's too small and blocks our love of neighbors. And the gospel call to enlarge our love further to include love of our enemies and welcome to the stranger among us, and care for the foreigner in our midst. When push comes to shove, we are all of us beloved children of one God. And so to the point Jesus makes, if our family or our politics don't teach us that, they are the antithesis of the gospel. Disregard them and live like Jesus. Love like Jesus. In the same way, Moses, in our first reading this morning, sets a hard but life-giving choice for the people of God. On the verge of entering the promised land, Moses warns them not to settle into the lifestyles of those already living there. Don't worship their gods. Don't do the things they do. Moses calls on them to hold fast to the God in whom they live and move and have their being. The God who has already delivered them from slavery to freedom. Walk in the way of the God whose commandments and ordinances and decrees are all about both love of God and neighbor. And if the local norms do not enhance life and freedom for everyone, embrace a countercultural identity and choose life as God intends it. So too Paul. Paul reminds Philemon that following the way of Jesus comes with a cost. In short, Paul tells Philemon he has no claim over another person. So Paul asks him to receive Onesimus, no longer as a slave, but as a beloved brother. You should be family. Paul, elsewhere, you might remember from Galatians, says much the same, except he expands on it there. In Christ Jesus, you are all beloved children of God, he says. There is neither Jew nor Greek. There is neither slave nor free. There is neither male nor female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. And so if the status quo ranks some above others, set privilege aside and strive for a new social order. It's a tall order. Jesus and Moses and Paul, they all in their own ways, they all ask a lot of us, maybe more than we are prepared to give. But they only ask what they ask for the sake of God's dream for us and our world. They only ask what they ask for our own good. They ask us to choose love, to choose life, not just for some, but for one and for all. And in their turn, they each show us the way. Just a word or a few about this morning's readings. Oh, they're worth going back and studying some more, reflecting on some more, considering the gift, and yes, even the cost.